Well, hello and welcome to another installment of the Micro Four Thirds Curmudgeons. I'm Stan Foxworthy.
Why don't we, let's do that again, but let's welcome people to 2020.
Take 6. Well, hello and welcome to the year 2020. Yeah, we never thought we'd get here. I'm Stan Foxworthy with Foxworthy Studios, and with me, Larry Monteith, and we are the Micro Four Thirds Curmudgeons. Welcome to another episode. And today, Larry and I are going to be talking to you about why we think in 2020 that the Micro Four Thirds format is still a viable one for us in both our pursuit of photography and the fact that we're both commercial photographers and videographers. So, let's get started. Larry?
So, Stan, I know you know this, but for our viewers that don't, so 4/3 was originally a joint Kodak and Olympus. In the year 2003, they came out with the wonderful camera, the E1, which both of us did shoot for many years. But what the 4/3 format was it was a Kodak felt that it was the magic sweet spot between lens sharpness and resolution and the size of that sensor and something else has temporarily escapes my mind. And
I hate when that happens.
And you know, I think that sensor format size still holds up today. And the reason why I say that is you know, you have some beautiful 16 by 20 prints here in the studio that are gorgeous. They're not just good enough. They're 16 by 20s, or actually they're probably 16 by 21 or something like that. And they're that was the other thing I want to mention about 4/3 is 4/3 is closer to 8 by 10 or 16 by 20 proportions than the standard 3.2 crop of the 35 millimeter sensor. So they came out with this different sensor format, and we continue to think that it still holds up today. And it also has some other advantages in lens design. So take it away on the difference between Micro Four Thirds and 4/3.
Right. Well, and basically it's the same sensor format size. On a 4/3 camera, it had a mirror box, not unlike any other DSLR. So basically what's happening is you had a longer flange distance for the lens to the sensor to accommodate for that mirror coming up and down. So with Micro Four Thirds, what they did was they removed the mirror box and redesigned the lenses, the Micro Four Thirds lenses, to take advantage of that shorter distance to sensor, which also gives you a sharper image. One of the things, and you touched on it, is the lenses are incredibly sharp, and actually with their design format, they actually designed these from the ground up when they decided it as 4/3 even, to have the light rays focus in a straight manner to the sensor instead of going out, where we had problems with fall off with gapped sensors and other things, which we won't get into too much of the technical. But having it being the perfect size format for resolution gives you an incredibly sharp image. I've shot over the past, being professional for the past 43 years, with just about all the different formats and all the different manufacturers, and without a doubt the Micro Four Thirds lenses are the sharpest I've ever used. A long time ago, another photographer back in Denver, Don Emmerich, had done a test where he actually took his Hasselblad, the medium format stuff, he took large format, and he took his Nikon gear, and he did a resolution test and found that the sharpest lenses were actually the ones on his Nikon versus the larger format. You would have thought these big, expensive Hasselblad lenses and large format lenses that were so much more expensive would have been sharper, but that's not the case. You can actually...
A lens's sharpness is inversely proportional to its covering power. I wanted to throw that in there.
What he said. Yes. So that's the big difference. They went ahead and made that change because they wanted to make something smaller and lighter and more compact, hence mirrorless. So by going that way,
And there's some cost advantages of
Yes.
these of both. Of course, originally was the cost of the sensor when they were CCD sensors rather than CMOS sensors.
right.
That cost per millimeter was
Mhm.
was much more expensive, and that. But again, the lenses, because they're designed for that smaller sensor, there's physically less glass in them, et cetera. And so there are some real significant advantages in not as much the price of the camera body, but the total system cost
Right.
of micro four thirds is much better than full frame 35 millimeter.
Yes, yes. So, I mean, that is right where we get off to our thoughts on why it's still viable. It's a smaller system. It's easier to take around with you when you're shooting for 8 or 10 hours a day. It's less detriment on our bodies. Imagery, it's fantastic. I'm finding that the 20 megapixel raw files out of these are fantastic, and a lot of the times, if you see behind me, a lot of the black and white images are shot as JPEG straight out of camera, which I absolutely love as well. Again, they are beautiful images and work well for all of our commercial needs as well as my personal projects.
And then you might want to mention the dust.
The dust. Oh, do I have dust on? No. Actually, I don't have dust, and that's another beautiful thing. They pioneered the supersonic wave filter, which removed, by ultra-fast vibration, all the dust on images. So when I have been shooting these, I can be out at racetracks, I can be out at the beach, I can be taking off the lenses and swapping them out, and I don't have to worry about dust spots, which is something I've had to worry about with other format systems, where, you know, there's nothing worse. So you get back and you start post-processing and you've got all these dust spots that you have to remove from dust on the sensor. And with these, we don't have to worry about that.
So we're planning to put out a number of additional episodes. We're going to kind of try to target one a week. Whether we succeed in that or not, it will remain to be seen.
Yeah.
But you know, I think we're going to try to address some of the issues that some people think that micro four thirds has. Like,
Right.
There's a rumor that you can't use micro four thirds under low light situations.
I've heard that rumor.
I don't find it to be true.
A lot of people think that micro four thirds is so limiting. I've heard people say that it won't focus well. And by the way, speaking of focus, another benefit to a mirrorless camera is the focusing is done on chip. In other words, what says it's in focus is also the captured device. Whereas when we had mirrored cameras, you had another set of mirrors and micro lenses to focus, and it told the camera that yes, it appears to be in focus, which is why we have to do a lot of micro adjusting on, or AF fine tuning in the case of Nikon, with mirrored cameras with other lenses, because through manufacturing tolerances or whatever, it has to be done via firmware. Where with a mirrorless camera, what you see is what you get. So if it says it's in focus, it's in focus. I found that my keeper rate on sharp and in focus images has gone up exponentially by going into a micro four thirds mirrorless system.
So, like I say, we're going to have some new episodes in this
Yep.
new year, and I think probably starting out with a low light episode.
Right.
And so subscribe.
Yep, right down there. Subscribe.
And we're probably going to close this episode out with some of Stan and my favorite images from 2019.
From 2019. Thank you all for watching. And again, please subscribe. We hope that you have a wonderful, creative, healthy, and happy 2020. Thanks for watching.